Welcome to Verbal Brick Radio, where we give you a verbal image of life, and we are everyday people. Like to welcome you all to the show. Today, I got a special guest, somebody we all know and love, we all listen to in the past, especially coming with the spiritual aspect of the topics that we deal with that relates to us as a people, and that's none other than Brother Loki. Brother Loki, welcome back to the show, brother.
Hey, what's going on, Brother Black?
You, man. Hey, we got a lot, man. We got to cover because of the current situation that we're in. Dealing with the aspect of the voting and the spiritual aspect of our energy going into a system that some are starting to say doesn't have our best interest at heart and never had our best interest at heart, but yet it used terms like election as far as the electricity and polling for the current polls or energy and whatnot, but actually we're the conduits and they sucking up our energy into their process, right?
Right.
So I want to get into something that I spoke upon earlier, and it's the compromise of 1790, right? Now, the compromise of 1790 also go with the 1790 Sundry Act of the Moors, and that's SUNDRY of the Moors, right? And basically, it was to move the capital from Philadelphia to Washington, D.C., and they stated, okay, well, that's fine. You can move the capital from Philadelphia to Washington, D.C., as long as you all are in support of our slavery. That the North wouldn't get involved in what's going on in dealing with the slaves, meaning that the slaves have always been part of the compromise. And I'm going to read something starting with Hamilton, Madison, and Thomas Jefferson. They were the backing of Washington. Arranged the terms which resulted in passage of the Residence Act in July and the Funding Act in August. Central to the compromise was a bargain by which several Southerners agreed to change their votes and support assumption if Congress would first pass a bill locating the capital city of the United States on the Potomac River after a 10-year temporary residency at Philadelphia. This carried the strong implication that the North would not raise serious objections to the institution of slavery. We was traded again. We're going to move the capital from Philadelphia to Washington, D.C., as long as the North don't get involved in what the South was doing as far as slavery. That was the compromise of 1790. Then you had the compromise of 1850, and you had the compromise of 1877 at James Wormley's Hotel, which was owned by a black man. But he was born free. So, Brother Loki, that 17, just give us a basic rundown of that 1790 Sundry Act, which was one of the reasons why you would hear and you read in history where they'd say, well, this particular black man was born free.
Right. So I just have to go on top of the head. I somewhat recollect how it went down. There was some Moors who were under the status of Negro, and they used their connection to Morocco in order to be classified under Moor status. And but if I had my Bluetooth, I would actually pull it up. But you can Google Sundry Free Moors Act of 1790, if I'm not mistaken. And then Mayor Kush put out one that we've talked about on here before, which is, I think, of 2012 or something like that. And you should be able to pull up a PDF. And that is some of the most thorough history in regards to everything having to deal with the Moors.
Right. And so, with that being said, Ice Cube in his contract with Black America, he said this is not for colored people, uh, this is not for. He gave several different titles, which was given to black people. He also used the fact that this is not for minorities. This is specific for black people in America, the descendants of slaves. So what about the descendants of the Moors who was part of that 1790 Sundry Act, who used their connection with Morocco to be considered as free beings? Mm-hmm. One, and how does that tie into later on in history to where eventually, or systemic racism, to where they look at melanin and group everybody in as one? How can you separate the two as far as today in 2020?
Separate the two?
To separate the Moors from the black descendants of slavery.
Well, it's just self-identification. The Moors were the first that was enslaved in what's now known as present-day Liberia and taken over to Haiti. And, so it's, every person who is signing off under black status has, essentially a right to self-identification. I was looking at and listening to Tariq Nasheed talk about, the FBA and how that's classified, and which was basically anything that could trace back to a plantation from what he was saying. So you could find that whether one is under black status or whether they're a Moor, they have Moor as a status. These people can still go into the records and be able to trace themselves back to that particular type of situation.
Okay, because and the reason why I asked that question is we getting down to some serious negotiating with this government. As you all know, President Biden said he did with the contract with Black America after the election is over with, if he becomes the president. Trump, on the other hand, was like, okay, well, let's take a look at this thing right now and see what's going on. And the reason being is because we've outgrown the slave mentality and the slave status. So we need a new sort of constitution, i.e. whether it's dealing with black people specifically or the Americas as a whole. But something has to change, because either we're going to separate and just go for our own and do for self, or we'll have to force this current government to give us the freedom and justice and equality that's due to any human being, right? Mm-hmm. And so that leads me to, and that's the material side of it. And when I say material side, I'm speaking at the fact that we have documentation, a plan that's written ink to paper, that's presented, called CBA, which was put out by Ice Cube, but I'm understanding it was helped by Dr. Claude Anderson. Now I'm understanding the FBA with Tariq Nasheed was also created by Dr. Claude Anderson, right? Now, on your knowledge, can you give us a take on are those two similar in the goal in which in respective on what they like to see accomplished by these two plans?
Yeah, I haven't heard enough from Ice Cube about his plan to know really go in depth about that. What I can add is that while doing things like this and working together, this shouldn't be a reason to then, shit on things that go against, being a Pan-African. Because there are a lot of us are Pan-Africans. So we're not, just generalizing or making it seem like we're targeting, people from the Caribbean or people from, Africa and, getting all to what some things that's understood ain't always got to be said. Within every group of us, there is, whether it's disagreements or, some niggas is killing each other, it's different degrees of, bullshit amongst the different groups of us. But, we shouldn't generalize about our people as a whole, because I done met real people and fake people in every group. So ain't everybody shit stink. Nobody should be acting like that shit don't stink. I'm not against, people, setting up plans, based on records and going back to plantations and things like that. I respect that conversation, as long as we not shitting on, global African people, just because of whatever particular group of niggas say they from,
Exactly. I want to add that a lot of the influences around the world are influenced by what black people do in the Americas, what we do in the Americas, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, and this is just for my Nigerian people. Get it together with the SARS in Nigeria and the dispute that you all having with the people over this heavy policing and this brutality that's going on, quote, from which is being reported. I haven't had boots on the ground to witness it personally, but the reports that are coming in from some people that's in Houston, because you all know that Houston has the largest Nigerian population in the Americas. But the reports that I'm getting in is that it is brutal. But what I'm saying to Nigeria is two melanated beings, one who's supposed to uphold law as far as keeping order within the city, within the society, or within the community, to make sure that respect is there amongst the citizens of Nigeria, and don't overstep that power and use brutality in order to get your point across. Because what you're saying is that the same people that you are can't understand how to communicate and how to deal with one another unless this force is applied. And that means that you pushing back your society to deem them as uncivilized when it's viewed through the eyes of the world. So Nigeria, y'all need to come together and stop airing out your dirty laundry in public and mend those fences. As we are screaming that the fact that in some cases you're hearing blacks in America saying within the black community, we need black police officers so we don't have to, as some, be afraid when white officers pull us over. I'm saying to say that you got paradise in Africa. 80% of the world's natural resources come from there. You got an all-black police force, and you should be living in paradise, is what I'm saying. That's just while it was on my mind, I had to shoot that out to Nigeria. But Brother Loki,
Sure.
on the spiritual aspect of the time and where we're at today, and I know that you are you listen to Brother Panic's lectures and things that he has to say on the spiritual aspect of where we're at, and a spiritual focus going into the future. How would you instruct a process of thought going into the future on where we need to be grounded at as far as the spiritual aspect of it?
Well, the foundation over here is one from the what oftentimes I call the subconscious perspective. You can look at it as 50% of the game. So it's learning another language, the language of symbolism, and that's part of the foundation that we're standing on. Just one that's the subconscious is being unseen. We're in our waking consciousness. We can see what's going on around us. That's 50% of the game, what they call yin and yang. So I came, Brother Penny just put out a lecture, and I advise, brothers and sisters out there to go check it out. It's making me go back and hit the books, so, I can expound on, what I, was able to take from it, and compare and contrast to what I see going on. And, but I will say that information like that is a excellent position in terms of perspective about what's going on, putting things in the context, from a subconscious perspective. And from, one interesting thing that was mentioned is while, a lot of our people, they are dependent, and they speak from a dependent position when they talk about, these corporations, when really it's the corporations that are dependent on the people that's talking about it. They really, the people that's talking is in the ultimate position if they're not noticing the fact that if these people are so lowly, then why do they have to be incorporated into so much shit? It's because the corporations are dependent on these people that have been put into a caste system and into a class and status system, and everything revolves around, all the planets revolve around these people that are taking this victim position, and because of them taking that particular position, all that position is reflected in their reality. So you got niggas that learn about shit that they are, and they scared to be that shit because they think that by them being that's gonna make them a target.
Right.
And one thing that comes to mind is I always say, man, they got motherfucking. You can Google your address and motherfucker can see what your house look like. So what the fuck are you hiding? It ain't shit that a nigga can hide. Only thing what it's telling, the reason why shit like that exists in 2020 and it's been existing for years, is because it's our subconscious telling us that, nigga, you can't hide, so you might as well be what the fuck you done learned that you are. So if you say you that, stop acting like you ain't that. If you say you God, then stop acting like a peasant and a victim, and start acting like you control everything around you. It's not just some fly shit to say. It's applied even to the basic human shit, contracts and shit like that. I done told people, about their lineage, and, I'm not going to say no names, but they didn't see any value in it. And that's not me taking nothing away from them, but it's also a thing of where it's like, okay, this comfortable position that I'm in, I'm just going to stick with it because that makes me less of a target. And that's just not the way that this shit works, Don't if sometimes when information comes, you know, by just out of being so scared and such a victim by not partaking in it and just eating that same food could be a person's, you know, a part of their, it'll be their cause and effect. I ain't gonna put a connotation on it, but I would just say be mindful about what we consume, and if there's some, you know, some fruit in it, don't be scared to partake of it just because a nigga think that they're gonna be a target. There is no hiding out here.
Cool.
There ain't no hiding, you know. So don't hide from yourself. Just be whatever the fuck you learn. And that shit, if it don't resonate with you, then it may be meant for you to be a peasant and a victim for the rest of your life. And maybe it'll take you another lifetime to come down here to realize that you can't run and hide from your soul, which is the end all be all of every fucking thing. You know? So, yeah.
That's exactly. And thank you, because that was well said. Dealing with one thing that I believe, and I could be wrong, but the evidence points to the fact that I'm right, is that we carried over a mindset and a mentality that was given to us 400 and some odd years ago by the white folks, and far as their spirituality, dealing with their interpretation of the Christian religion, and the symbolic picture of the white Jesus that they purposely did for the sole benefit of their benefit. And so it weakened a people to say that if I buck this system, white Jesus gonna get me. That's why they had us thinking that our heaven comes after we die. But while we are alive on this planet, we supposed to go through pain, turmoil. What was the word that they used? What was the word they say? Misfortune. They used misfortune. Thomas Jefferson used misfortune when he was saying that, you know, if we don't educate these blacks and get them some type of training and we just free them out in the public, they gonna suffer some misfortunes. But they knew the psychology of giving us their brand of religion and having us with this spookism and giving us all these superstitions as far as if you split the pole, this gonna happen to you. If you step on a crack, this gonna happen to you. And now in 2020, what you're saying is throw all that away and be God and be yourself and go after. You're gonna die anyway. Free yourself and enjoy life.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, and that's how. And you're right. It shouldn't be hard to do, but it's this unseen elephant in the room, or this unseen monkey on folks' backs who feel like, man, if I, you know, they need to be knighted, or they need someone to say, you know, hey, you can do it. And that's the purpose of this show, Bro Pick Radio. And while I have these guests on, and for those of you who are listening for the first time, is the purpose we deal with universal laws and the fact that I am and you can be, you know, with a little effort. Go get it. Go get it. You know.
Yeah.
Because why? But why is it so hard to replace slave teachings with a teaching that's beneficial for today? Like, how do we wash our brains and finally push, you know, that off of us? Because it's like it's riding. It's like a polyester cheap suit. You know what I mean? And it's so tight you can't get the thing off of you. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
You know, and then I like to add to that too. And the sad part about it is, we say, okay, we say, well, we are brothers in this thing. We should look out for each other. But yet, you know, for some reason, we can see this brother struggling with trying to get this jacket off his back from this polyester cheap suit, and won't nobody render aid to help, because there's another reason. Man, I don't want to get involved because white folks see me helping you here, they might come after me. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, it's a new mindset we have to have, and in this new mindset, we got to take on a different spiritual aspect of it in the way we think. We got to take on a different physical aspect in the way we walk. We got to take on a different mental aspect in what we studying, and then we regurgitate it back to the public as far as our communications or our speech, to where we regurgitate and put that back out in the universe with a new vigor, strength, and energy for the youth in particularly that's coming up today, but just for our own sanity. Because if we don't, and we stay up under the mindset that was given to us by the slave master, and we carry it on in generations, we'll collapse under its weight and we will go insane. So, yeah, this is the time to do it. But look, before we go, what's your take on this, the whole energy surrounding this 2020 presidential election, and the fact people are fearing that if Trump loses, there'll be some type of civil war?
Yeah, so first thing I noticed is that, man, my phone has been getting all of these messages, asking me to vote. All this shit coming in the mail. It got so much, I was just throwing that shit in the trash and blocking the numbers on my phone. But then it got to be so much, I was like, man, I'm going to take a picture of this shit, which I ain't done yet. But it let me know that if they that thirsty to get some energy from a nigga, then I should be giving, little to, I barely get this shit any energy. It's one of them things where, right now it's wherever the dice may fall on that shit. It isn't going to make me nan difference otherwise, because we're going to capitalize off of whatever the fuck, and then even bigger than that, by doing that, that's really how we control the game. Mm-hmm. What we decide to react to and how much energy we get is shit, and being neutral on certain things and just kind of putting it in its proper context, in the grand scheme of things, especially with the conversations that's going on, in some of the occult communities, is that, having the shifting the focus so much, focus being on this, and some of the things that are not being looked at, as far as just the very structure of this planet that we're on and what's surrounding it, and some of the things that occurred in nature. And I got to shout out the Gnosis brother Jamal, because he gets into, the astrological aspect and what's going on in the cosmos, and because that plays a very key part to what the attention, because they sending me all these texts, they want my attention to deviate it from what's going on on this planet that we're living in. There's some shit that's going on with this planet that is speaking straight to our subconscious. That's really the core of people wearing these masks, and why that's why it's important to study the metaphysical and the symbolic aspect, because then you'll be able to more clearly see what's going on politically. The political shit is a distraction, which we know, so best thing we can just I'm just letting the dice wherever they fall. I don't give a fuck which way did it go. We just had a discussion about this. We actually set this up the way that it's been going, with this whole Trump shit. We talked about it on this podcast before we knew that the veil was going to be lifted. Yeah. We talked about it here on Verbal Pig Radio. We said, go ahead and let that motherfucker in. Yeah. The motherfucker got in, and now y'all niggas the bankrolled, and everybody in the hood know, because that's where we at. We done bankrolled off this shit.
Yeah.
Now, whether y'all niggas went and fucked y'all money off, that's on y'all. But shit, the rest of us, we invested that shit.
Right.
And we in a better position than we ever was. And it ain't because of that motherfucker, it's because of us. We planted the seed. We put the magic out there. We knew the veil was going to get lifted. Now you see the veil done got lifted so motherfucking off for shit that you didn't seen. Even people that you know, it ain't just, it's beyond the politics. It's the people around us. Look how many motherfuckers scared. You know, how many people got scared after they told niggas to put a face mask on, and how many people was like, man, that's bullshit.
Right.
You know, so it revealed way probably even more than I even goddamn, even saw what's going on. You know, I ain't surprised, but goddamn.
Right.
So, I mean, the ritual went perfect. So, we doing another ritual now, and the ritual is, man, fuck that shit. Whatever the dice may fall, gives a fuck. We know what's happened previously, and that's all I'm gonna say. You know, y'all don't give a fuck. I'm not voting, so shit. I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna bankroll regardless off of either one of them bitches.
Okay, well, we'll say it again. You know what I mean? Yeah. What can you say after that? That is what it is, and that is the reality in which we living in today. But that is a construct of the mindset of so many people that needs to hear it being put in that perspective, because we all learn and we all take things in from different ways, and so the whole purpose of this show was for the occultists, the spiritual thinkers to get a message coming from a spiritual mind, so you don't feel like you're left out, or everybody just dealing with this physical aspect of the situation in the current times in which we living in. We got to hit it from so many different angles, so we can move this thing forward. Now, you said something that was profound about the planet and what it's going through with this COVID, and then you got the wildfires going through, you got the hurricanes hitting this thing, and it's just a question that I have, and I always wondered, right? Since our mind, and it got so many afraid people, like you stated, on the planet, since our mind has taken itself off the energy of this universe and this planet, is the planet responding as saying, well, hell, I'm going to take my mind and energy and rhythm off you, motherfucker. Off y'all.
I mean, shit. The way my male dog Kato be acting, hell yeah, that motherfucker's terrible, terror. I want to kick him in his ass right goddamn now. Shit, untrained motherfucker. Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, shit, this is our responsibility, man, to get it right. It just takes the work, and I think that's just, for my folk out there, that's putting their hands in the earth and gardening and everything, it takes that sweat equity that has to be put in it in order to, gain that fruit from it, that understanding from it. So that applies to everything that we do in life. Talking is one thing, but, action is what's going to raise our understanding of whatever we're doing. That's what's going to raise capital and anything you put your hands on. Man, so
exactly. This what you're saying just attests to the I don't want to say the purpose of this show, but until I can get a better word for it, what you're saying attests to this show in the aspect that everybody that's on here is free to ride the energy of waves that the universe put on them to ride on the time of this show, to put it in the best perspective that they see fit, because the weight of the message penetrates and it hits that heart chakra, those who's listening to the different aspects we have of this show, and it causes motion. And we appreciate that motion because we know if motion is moving forward, that means time is moving, rhythm is going, and energy is being applied, and it helps to bring forth the outcome that we like to see in the thought rituals that's being shot out in the atmosphere. So, man, we appreciate that. Now, Brother Loki, before we roll out, anything you like to add, bro? Because the floor is yours, bro.
Hey, man. I'll say that got to give a shout out to some of the brothers I've been listening to. Sabir Bay, I like what he's saying. I like the fact that he's traveled, to so many places to get that information on the Moors. Shout out, Yael, that's living out there, and not to, put everybody, business out there, but the move, man, it's just a lot of people that's, getting some land over there in Africa and getting that dual citizenship, ludicrous. And, some of my family called me and told me last night, they talking about, getting some land, and some homes and everything over there because the cost of living is so low compared to here. You could take this bread from over here, go over there and flip it. We looking at some ways to do it now, and, man, it's, I would just say, just know that it's a place for, everybody, just to be able to work together, man. Just don't be scared to be who you are, everything is a tool. So some shit, that niggas are scared of, it ain't, if you look at it as just business and as a tool and not no dogma. If you see people that's dogmatic and religious about something, that doesn't mean that you looking at it as a tool would have to be the same way to get the benefits. It doesn't work like that, so there's some things that are beneficial business wise that, people shouldn't be scared to partake of, like national origin, and race, it's just a means to an end, and that's all it is. So
Okay, well
man.
that was the assignment for those that's out there listening. Go challenge yourself. There you go. Thank you all for listening. Verbal Pick Radio. Appreciate you being on the show, brother Loki.
Hey, appreciate you, brother Black.
Yes, sir. We out.